Hi, I'm Novel Mike, and this is my opinion. So Nintendo's done their E3 Direct, and now it's time for me to review it. Overall, I thought they did a really good job highlighting their bigger games, and they did have a couple surprise announcements that I don't think people were expecting. They weren't megatons, though. That's the main thing. I think people were really hoping for huge, massive megatons, but I wasn't because I figured they already said this was going to focus on 2018 games, and I figured they'd have a couple things for 2019, which I was right about, but I didn't think they'd have much. So I wasn't expecting anything super crazy, but I think people are still hoping for something cool because it's Nintendo. But they really focused more on Smash Brothers, which, if you're a fan of Smash Brothers, like I am, that was great. That was amazing. But if you weren't, then it wasn't. It was about a half hour of a press conference you didn't really care about. Now, granted, I think there's a lot more people that are into Smash Brothers than aren't that are Nintendo fans, but still. Overall, I'd say that I think they did pretty well. They presented all their games well. They made a couple good announcements. This Daemon X Machina game made by the Armored Core team, this mech sci-fi shooter game, looked really cool. Coming 2019, they also showed Fire Emblem finally. Also coming 2019, which just wanted to mention, I called it. Everyone told me I was crazy for saying that Fire Emblem got delayed till 2019, but nope, I was right. Ha! They also showed Super Mario Party, which is coming out in October, which I'm happy about just because it looks like it's back to normal Mario Party gameplay. Instead of this 4 people in a little cart going through like a little linear board, essentially, that just has events. This looks like a more traditional Mario Party. We'll see exactly how much it is. I hope they show it in the treehouse next couple of days, but I was pretty happy at least that it looked significantly better than what we've seen previously with Mario Party. Hopefully that it is getting back to what fans really like about it, because I think the last 2 games kind of burned people. They also had several shadow drops. They had Hollow Knight, which granted people have been waiting for, but is dropping today with all DLC out now. Also Fortnite, which unfortunately did get leaked. Paladins also got leaked, and that's out. It's not free though, and you have to pay for the starter thing, and it'll be free later, so I'm kind of iffy on that. One thing I really didn't like was with Pokemon Let's Go, they announced that the way you get Mew in that game is with buying that Pokeball controller, which is $50. Now, granted, there might eventually be a ways of getting Mew besides that, possibly via Pokemon Go. I don't even know if they've had Mew catchable in that game yet, but I'm really not a fan of that, and it feels kind of like you're making people buy a $50 accessory to get all the friggin' Pokemon in the game. So, not okay with that, Nintendo. You don't need to be splurging any more than Amiibo on some of this stuff, with including in-game content. So, not a fan of that. Not for how expensive that is. Besides that, they did show some indies. They had a couple other announcements. Some games I was surprised they didn't put dates on, like Dark Souls. They're still saying is just summer, which I thought was weird because we're already in December and we still don't know when this game's coming out. World Ends With You got a season at least. Before it was just 2018. Now it's fall, but still no date. I was hoping for dates on those. And then, of course, they showed off the big one, which is Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers Ultimate comes out December 7th. And it's essentially, if you've ever liked Smash Brothers, this game has every character you ever played. Most of the stages seem to be coming back, even N64 ones, remastered. Every character that's ever been in the games is in the game. So Ice Climbers, Pokemon Trainer, Snake, Wolf, Mega Man, everybody's back. They're also going to have a few new characters. They did say that there wouldn't be very many, but they did go ahead and reveal a couple. One of them is Daisy, who is a clone of Peach, which they do have a new way of calling characters clones, which is an Echo character, which I thought was an interesting idea, although I think some characters beforehand would be considered clones in other games. Like Falco was essentially a clone, except for like 1 or 2 moves made him a little bit different. But he mostly played the same as Fox, and like Toon Link and Young Link are both in the game, but those are basically clones of each other, essentially, with slight differences. So, I don't know. I guess the Echo characters are going to be more straight-up clones, like not even slight differences, and so they're giving them a proper title. I'm curious on how many more Echo characters we'll get. I don't really know what to expect from that, but that was cool. They gave a ton of updates for all the characters, too. Like Ganondorf is no longer just a Captain Falcon clone. They gave him his sword for smash attacks, which is really cool. A bunch of stuff like that. Almost every character got some kind of change, which was really interesting. And the way this was presented was really well done, with you not realizing it. that it was going to be all the characters until like almost completely through the trailer that they were showing at the time. They said, everyone is here. And it's like, yeah! So that was cool. That game showed really well. They showed, of course, the rest of the day at Treehouse, and then they did the Smash Tournament last night, which was also really cool. So happy with all that. But it wasn't a perfect Direct. There weren't really any huge megatons. Like, I wasn't expecting any because of what they said beforehand, but they did say that they were not going to do any 2019 games, and yet they did show 2 games that were going to be in 2019, which is the Daemon Ex Machina and then Fire Emblem. So they kind of already broke that rule, but I guess they wanted to have something else since so many of these other games were coming out this year and they weren't anything super surprising. Maybe if they had said Pokemon for this, it would have been better, but they never want to show Pokemon at E3. They always want to give it its own event because it's such a big IP for them, but I don't know. They had to announce Smash Brothers. I think this could have been better. I think that if they hadn't announced Fire Emblem, that being revealed now would have been a bigger surprise. But yeah, they just didn't have any Megatons, so I think that hurt them, but they didn't do anything wrong in this conference, I don't think. They didn't lead people astray. They didn't say, prepare to be excited for the big C3 we ever had or anything. They made it seem pretty obvious what they're going to be doing, which is talking about Smash and Pokemon and a couple of the things for 2018 and 2019, and bigger announcements would come later in the year, which I'm assuming we'll get a Direct in a couple months that will do that. So I can't fault them for that, really. I think people generally have pretty high expectations of Nintendo, though, so I see why some people are upset if a game you really wanted wasn't there yet, since there wasn't any Megatons, really. So I still think they did well, though. I'd give them an 8, just because they didn't have the Megatons, because I think that they could have spread out some of the information about this new Smash game a little bit earlier, so it did take up as much time, but I do think that what they did right by this was keeping expectations in line. Like, everyone's always going to have crazy expectations for Nintendo, but they did straight up say what this was going to be. They didn't try to make this out like this was going to be some, Megaton, game. They specifically said that this was not going to have 2019 games, so if you were expecting like Prime 4 or some unannounced games, like Fire Emblem, for example, well, technically that wasn't announced, but some games that hadn't shown, like Fire Emblem or Metroid Prime, or heck, I saw a lot of people being upset about Animal Crossing. You shouldn't have expected that. I think you have to be reasonable with your expectations. If they haven't even hinted about a game coming out and you're just expecting it to be there just because you want it, then, it's disappointing when it's not, but, you have to be realistic. So while I give it an 8, and I think it was still a pretty good show, I don't think that it was better than Microsoft's press conference. I thought Microsoft really brought it this year. Even though they didn't have a lot of stuff for first party, they just had a lot of games to show, a lot of announcements, and I think they had the best overall presentation, and that's really what you want of E3, is you want to see a lot of games, you want to see a lot of really cool stuff, and you want to be enjoying what you watch. And I had the most fun, I think, watching Microsoft out of any of them. So I think they won overall, and good on them. I mean, I didn't expect that, even though I don't think that they sold me on buying an Xbox One yet. I am very happy with what they've got in the pipeline and what third parties were allowed to show on their screen. So with that comes to close with the main reviews I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to do a third-party review just because I thought the third parties' showings were kind of laughable this year. Even Ubisoft, who was pretty much like the best conference last year for the most part, I don't think really had that much that interested me. Part of it was that loss of leaked, so that doesn't help anything. But yeah, I thought third parties were pretty weak this year. So because of that, and because of a lot of games being 2019, I'm going to hold off on doing that. But I do want to do another video probably sometime either late this week or early next week about the leaks that came out, and not only just the leaks that happened that were real, but also talking about the leaks that were fake, because there was a lot of games announced or seemingly announced from like Walmart Canada and some of these other things that were leaked, but were not real and did not show up. So that's a thing, which is weird. So I know that provided a lot of disappointment for some people, and I think that would be something interesting to talk about, because it's interesting that some of those, like the Walmart Canada, some of it turned out to be real, some of it turned out to be complete bullshit. So, that's the thing. Anyway, I'm Novel Mike. That was my opinion, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.